Bollywood is engrossed in biopics of recent. But Shakuntala Devi, the famous genius mathematician who could calculate massive numbers in seconds to earn a place in the Guinness Book of World Records, could her life be interesting enough to warrant a Bollywood film? Must be an unnecessarily emotional soap opera of a movie. Let's take a look at how it actually managed to turn out. The movie begins when Shakuntala is 5. We see her manage to solve the cube root of a large number mentally, when it's rather improbable that she would even know what a cube root means at that age. After some household tension, love, partings, we suddenly see Shakuntala, who has never been to school, walk down the streets of London alone as she speaks in English. This pattern of defying the boundaries of reality and logic and skipping many years in their life to bring the protagonist to the place and time for the main events to unfold is reminiscent of 70s and 80s Bollywood. It is clear that the director has adopted the same concept as the typical Bollywood male superhero films. But when, in the next moment, we see Shakuntala hiding her abilities in an attempt to be normal, it becomes clear that the film is in fact a bit thought out. The film portrays Shakuntala Devi as downright careeristic. She has a charming personality, likes men, she sleeps with Jishu Sengupta after hijacking him from a party, follows him to Kolkata and even buys a flat in Ballygunge. In conclusion, she lives her life on her own terms. She refuses to play gender roles for her career, she leaves her child behind to go on tour, plots to estrange her child from the father. What is surprising is despite all of this, she is not portrayed as a villain. The sympathy lies with her throughout the film. This is a rather surprising portrayal in the history of Bollywood. Perhaps this is where the director's visions become successful to some extent. It establishes a parallel discourse to the heroic male figures of Bollywood, decriminalizes the career-oriented woman, and rejects essentialization of women as mothers.
तुम वर्ल्ड फेमस मैथमेटिशियन होते जिसे दुनिया भर में शोज करने होते तो तुम क्या पूरी दुनिया मुझसे यही एक्सपेक्ट करती कि मैं अपना बोरिया बिस्तरा बांध के तुम्हारे साथ चलूं? मैंने तुम्हें
Nonetheless, portraying all of this in Hindi mainstream cinema comes at a price. Perhaps that's why a conflict between Shakuntala and her daughter has found its way into the second half of the film, which is weak and rather oversimplified. The second half of the film has become tedious in its attempt to prioritize this conflict. The golden opportunity to explore other interesting aspects of Shakuntala's character is also lost.
The world of homosexuals. मैंने खुद अपनी लाइफ से गरीबी हटाई.
Even the main characters haven't been defined well. Possibly all of this was to appease the Bollywood mainstream.
उन्होंने आपको homosexual बुलाया.
It is also very noticeable that the film is based upon Shakuntala's daughter's perspective, who doesn't understand her at all. That it results in a rather superficial interpretation of Shakuntala's life doesn't come as a surprise. This is where her daughter's point of view seems to influence the audience. As a result, it begs the question whether it has been purposefully made as a superficial look at the protagonist's life in an attempt to make it more palatable to the mainstream cinema audience, or simply a weak attempt to cover up the shortcomings on behalf of the creators. It must be kept in mind that this film is made in the old school Bollywood pattern. Actresses aren't lost in mundane chores here. Instead, we get bright lights, heavy-handed melodrama, and dramatic dialogues. The audience is told what it needs to hear directly via dialogues.
जब एक बेटे की माँ ये एक्सपेक्ट करती है कि उसकी नई बहू उसके साथ उसके घर में रहे तो वो नॉर्मल है, पर वही जब एक बेटी की माँ ये एक्सपेक्ट करती है कि उसका दामाद और उसकी बेटी उसके साथ रहे तो वो उसे जेल कर रही. What logic is that?
When these dialogues find their way into the mainstream cinema, it reaches more people. At the very least, it starts a process of social acceptance. Overall, it is good family entertainment. The larger part of the film is occupied with a light comic mood. The scenes in which Shakuntala manages to mentally calculate terrifyingly large sums are straightforward and simple. Despite being typecast, it is clear that Vidya Balan has carefully observed Shakuntala Devi's original video footage. Keeping aside her wigs, Sania Malhotra doesn't disappoint either. A girl gang is the creative mind behind the film. Director Anu Menon is an engineering graduate from Pilani, followed by graduation from London Film School. She has directed 2 films and a web series. The film is co-written by Nainika Mehtani and Ishita Moitra. Kiko Nakahara is the cinematographer, edited by Antara Lahiri. The film they have created together isn't quite a breakthrough, but nevertheless is a very important film in the history of Bollywood. Watch the film and tell us what you think about it.
So do you want me to give you the answer from left to right or right to left? I'll give it to you from right to left. Please take it down. The answer is 2, 3,
Promote
4,
good films
6,
and throw
5,
the bad
4,
ones in
9,
the bin.
6, 3, 9, 5, 5, 5. Am I correct?